Chaos erupted in the courtroom as Usher publicly accused Diddy of providing false testimony during the ongoing trial, further intensifying the already high-stakes legal battle. The R&B superstar, who has been a key figure in the case due to his past relationship with Diddy, took the stand with explosive allegations that turned the trial on its head. Usher's accusation came as a shock to many, as it challenged the credibility of Diddy's defense and cast doubt on the entire narrative being presented. The courtroom was thrown into disarray as the tension escalated, with both legal teams clashing over the truth of Usher's claims. As the trial continues, the explosive confrontation marks a turning point in the case, highlighting the complex dynamics of power, control, and manipulation that have defined Diddy's career, and now his fight for freedom. The drama is only escalating, and the fallout could be devastating for both sides. The search warrant controversy. The legal strategy revolves around challenging the validity of the search warrants that were issued during the investigation. According to Diddy's defense team, the government misrepresented the facts when applying for these warrants. They claim that federal agents distorted the picture of reality by omitting key details and exaggerating salacious allegations made by an unnamed producer. The defense insists that these claims were never credible and were presented in a way that painted Diddy in a much darker light than was warranted. The defense also emphasizes that much of the information used in the warrants came from unverified sources, which raises serious questions about the legality of the searches that followed. The legal argument hinges on the idea that the search warrants were based on misleading or incomplete information, which, under the law, renders the evidence collected through those searches inadmissible in court. In essence, Diddy's legal team is attempting to discredit the foundation of the government's case by suggesting that the evidence obtained through these searches was improperly gathered. The defense's argument is an attempt to weaken the prosecution's case before it even reaches trial, casting doubt on the reliability of the evidence that would be presented to the jury. Motion to suppress key evidence: the hotel footage and iCloud data. The most significant pieces of evidence at stake are the damning security footage and data found on Diddy's electronic devices. Among the most controversial items is a video that surfaced in 2025, showing an incident from March 5, 2016, at the Intercontinental Hotel in New York. The footage allegedly shows Diddy violently attacking his ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, dragging her by the hair, throwing objects at her, and yelling at her in full view of a surveillance camera. The footage, originally buried, resurfaced through CNN, sparking widespread outrage and renewed attention on Diddy's personal and professional life. Diddy's defense team has fought to have this video excluded from the trial, claiming that it was edited and manipulated to make their client appear worse than he truly is. In a motion filed with the court, Diddy's attorneys argue that the CNN footage is misleading because it was sped up, edited out of sequence, and taken out of context. They insist that the video no longer represents an accurate depiction of what occurred during the alleged altercation. Furthermore, they claim that the original footage, which was more than 30 minutes long, has been destroyed or altered beyond recognition, making it impossible to use the footage as evidence in its current form. The defense's argument also casts doubt on the authenticity of the video footage filmed on an iPhone 6, claiming that those clips too have been manipulated and are inaccurate. In their motion, they ask the court to exclude these pieces of evidence entirely, arguing that their lack of veracity would unfairly prejudice Diddy in front of the jury. This effort to suppress such damaging footage is a crucial part of the defense's strategy, as they aim to remove what they consider to be the most significant piece of evidence against their client. CNN responds, defending the authenticity of the footage. CNN, The media outlet that first broke the story and presented the footage has vigorously defended its reporting and the integrity of the video. According to the network, the footage was not altered in any way, and they have stated that they retain the original, unedited video. In a statement released to the court, CNN asserted that the video was neither manipulated nor sped up, as Diddy's legal team claims. The network further contends that the video was obtained legally, in line with journalistic standards, and that no tampering took place during its presentation to the public. Furthermore, CNN maintains that the video's authenticity is critical to the ongoing investigation, as it provides a clear and undeniable view of the events that transpired. The network also claims that they have preserved the original footage and are ready to present it in court if necessary. Their position casts a significant challenge to Diddy's defense, as the prosecution intends to use the video as one of the central pieces of evidence to establish Diddy's involvement in the violent incident with Cassie Ventura. The controversy over Diddy's motive: drugs, alcohol, and mental impairment. To complicate matters further, Diddy's defense team has introduced a controversial argument in their bid to suppress evidence and minimize their client's culpability. According to sources close to the legal team, Diddy's attorneys are preparing to argue that he was under the influence of drugs and alcohol at the time of the alleged incidents, which they claim impaired his cognitive functions and prevented him from fully understanding the nature of his actions. This defense strategy, often referred to as the too high to know better defense, is a desperate attempt to mitigate the severity of the charges. By asserting that Diddy's mental state was compromised during the events in question, his lawyers hope to provide an explanation for his actions that could sway the jury's opinion in his favor. To support this argument, the defense has lined up a psychiatrist who is expected to testify that Diddy's judgment and decision-making abilities were severely impaired due to his substance use. However, the prosecution is unlikely to be swayed by this defense. Legal experts argue that while intoxication can sometimes be used as a defense in criminal cases, it is rarely successful, especially in cases involving serious charges like sex trafficking and racketeering. Prosecutors are expected to argue that Diddy's alleged crimes were not impulsive or the result of impaired judgment, but rather part of a calculated, years-long operation to manipulate and control vulnerable individuals for his own gain. Legal fallout: Diddy's defense team in disarray. The unfolding legal battle has taken a personal toll on Diddy's defense team. Anthony Rico, one of the key attorneys representing Diddy, filed a motion to withdraw from the case, stating that he could no longer continue to represent his client due to irreconcilable differences. While Rico did not provide specifics about the decision, legal insiders speculate that his departure could be tied to his discomfort with the nature of the evidence against Diddy, which includes not just the violent footage of the altercation with Cassie, but also evidence of sex trafficking operations and other illicit activities. The departure of Rico marks a significant blow to Diddy's defense strategy, as it leaves the mogul without one of his most experienced attorneys just months before the trial is set to begin. Moreover, Diddy's high-powered law firm, Grumman Shire, Meiselas, and Sachs, has also decided to drop him as a client after more than 20 years of representation. This unexpected withdrawal has left Diddy scrambling to find new legal counsel, further complicating his chances in court. A pattern of allegations: the freak-off parties and Rico charges. The legal proceedings against Diddy also involve more than just the violent altercation with Cassie. Federal agents who raided Diddy's homes in March 2025 uncovered a vast array of evidence, including tapes, recordings, and hard drives that allegedly document a series of illicit activities, including what insiders have referred to as freak-offs, drug-fueled sex parties organized by Diddy and his associates. These events allegedly involved the coercion of young women and men, who were forced to participate in explicit sexual acts for the entertainment of Diddy and his celebrity friends. The discovery of these disturbing materials has raised the stakes in the case, as it paints a chilling picture of a man who allegedly used his vast wealth and influence to exploit and control individuals for his own gratification. Federal prosecutors have argued that Diddy's actions constitute a clear pattern of racketeering, with multiple individuals involved in facilitating his operations. The evidence uncovered in the raids has been described as damning, and while Diddy's legal team has attempted to argue that it was obtained illegally, the court has ruled that much of the evidence will be admissible at trial. Lady Gaga's alleged influence, the celebrity exodus. As the case against Diddy unfolds, there are whispers that even some of his closest allies are distancing themselves from the music mogul. One of the most shocking rumors to emerge is that Lady Gaga, the pop icon known for her outlandish style and unapologetic persona, reportedly threatened to leave Diddy's management firm if they didn't sever ties with him. While Gaga's camp has not confirmed the claim, the idea that one of the biggest stars in the world would be willing to publicly distance herself from Diddy speaks volumes about the growing backlash against the mogul. It's not just Gaga. Many of Diddy's celebrity clients, once loyal to him throughout his career, are now reportedly re-evaluating their associations with him. The legal fallout from these accusations isn't just limited to the courtroom, it's spreading throughout the entertainment world, as other stars fear that being tied to Diddy's name could tarnish their own legacies. For many, it's a matter of self-preservation. As the evidence piles up, the fallout is more than just legal. It's social, it's professional, and it's reputational. Celebrities are scrambling to distance themselves from a man who, just a few years ago, was considered untouchable. Usher's mentorship. A twisted relationship. For years, Diddy was seen as a mentor to the young Usher Raymond, who was just 13 when he began living in Diddy's house. This arrangement, sold to the public as a rare opportunity for a young artist to learn from one of the industry's most powerful figures, was initially painted as a model of mentorship. However, in light of recent revelations, that relationship now appears far darker than anyone could have imagined. New video footage has emerged that shows Diddy making unsettling comments about sharing a bed with Usher. In the footage, Usher reminisces about mornings spent together, mentioning breakfast cereals like Frosted Flakes, and even joking about wrestling in the mornings. While on the surface, these remarks might seem innocuous, the tone and energy behind them are disturbingly off. The video shows Diddy with a strange sense of ownership, describing their mornings as if they were intimate moments between two people who shared much more than just a mentor-mentee relationship. The footage is unsettling, and its implications are impossible to ignore. What was once presented as a wholesome relationship between a mentor and his protégé now looks increasingly like a carefully constructed trap. As the years have gone by, Usher's interviews have begun to shed light on what life was like during those formative years. In one interview with Rolling Stone, Usher confirmed that he had lived in Diddy's house as a teenager and was regularly exposed to wild parties and adult activities he couldn't fully comprehend at the time. He stopped short of calling it abuse, but the implications were clear. Usher had been thrust into an environment where boundaries were blurred and young stars were exposed to behavior that was far from appropriate. Usher's potential role in the trial prosecutors are expected to call Usher to the stand during the trial, not just as a character witness, but as someone who may have been groomed by Diddy himself. Usher's testimony will be a game-changer in the courtroom, as he is not only a household name, but also a symbol of Diddy's influence and power within the music industry. When Usher takes the stand, the case will shift dramatically. His presence will bring a level of credibility to the accusations that has been absent up until now. Usher is a global icon, someone whose career has spanned decades and whose face is familiar to millions. His testimony, particularly regarding his relationship with Diddy during his teenage years, will carry significant weight with the jury and the public. Usher's story, however, is more complicated than it first appears. His own legal history, including a lawsuit he settled for over $1 million, casts a long shadow over his legacy. The lawsuit involved allegations that Usher knowingly spread herpes to a woman, resulting in a disturbing set of details involving a greenish discharge, emotional trauma, and multiple sexual partners. While the lawsuit was settled privately, it raised questions about Usher's sexual behavior and whether he had been reckless with his own health. This scandal, when placed in the context of his early years spent with Diddy, creates a troubling pattern. The timeline starts to look more like a series of unfortunate events that stem from a system of exploitation, one that Diddy allegedly created. The dark side of Diddy's parties. Former insiders have begun to come forward, corroborating the rumors that have long circulated about Diddy's infamous parties. Gene Deal, a former bodyguard, and Jaguar Wright, a singer, have both confirmed the darker side of Diddy's so-called wild parties. According to Deal and Wright, Diddy's gatherings were not just about excessive drinking and partying. They were about control, manipulation, and predatory behavior. These parties, often filled with drugs and underage guests, were carefully orchestrated events where cameras were present at all times, documenting everything. The footage was not just for fun, it was a record of control, a way for Diddy to keep track of his power over others. This disturbing glimpse into the nature of Diddy's parties sheds light on the way in which his influence was used to manipulate those around him. The infamous freak-off tapes, which have been entered into evidence in the trial, show just how far Diddy allegedly went to maintain his grip on power. These tapes aren't just about excess and indulgence. They are a record of systematic abuse and exploitation. As the trial progresses, the world will learn more about the lengths Diddy allegedly went to in order to satisfy his desires and maintain his control over the people he surrounded himself with. The bigger picture: a culture of silence. As the case against Diddy continues, it's clear that the trial isn't just about the events that took place behind closed doors in Diddy's mansion. It's about the culture that allowed these actions to go unchecked for so long. The entertainment industry, for decades, has protected its stars, allowing them to hide behind their fame and fortune while silencing those who might speak out against them. Diddy, as one of the most powerful men in music, was able to exploit this system to his advantage, using his wealth and influence to shield himself from scrutiny. The silence around Diddy's actions was not just the result of fear, but of complicity. For years, people in the industry turned a blind eye to the rumors, choosing not to ask questions and not to rock the boat. It wasn't until the victims, including Cassie Ventura, began to speak out that the truth started to emerge. Now, as more and more people come forward with their stories, it's becoming clear that Diddy's behavior was part of a larger, deeply ingrained system of exploitation and abuse that stretched throughout the entertainment world. The racial defense and its implications. As Diddy's legal team continues to fight for his freedom, they have introduced a controversial defense that the entire case against him is racially motivated. They claim that Diddy, as a successful black man in a predominantly white industry, is being targeted because of his power and influence. This defense, while bold, has faced immediate pushback. Prosecutors, many of whom are also black, argue that race is not the issue here, it's about accountability. The victims in this case, including Cassie, are also black, and the legal system is not conspiring against Diddy because of his race. Instead, it is acting to hold him accountable for his actions, which have allegedly spanned decades. While some argue that this defense might resonate with certain jurors, it's unlikely to outweigh the weight of the evidence against Diddy. The victims' testimonies, the surveillance footage, and the corroborating accounts from former insiders paint a damning picture of a man who used his power and influence to manipulate and abuse others. The case is not about race, it's about justice and accountability. The end of an era. Diddy's legal troubles have shattered the carefully cultivated image of invincibility that he spent decades building. His once untouchable empire, a symbol of power, wealth, and influence, is now in free fall. As the trial progresses, with Usher preparing to testify, Cassie set to take the stand, and the controversial freak-off tapes ready to be shown in court, Diddy's future hangs in the balance. What was once a legacy of success is now the epicenter of scandal and shame. This trial is more than just a personal reckoning for Diddy. It's a broader reckoning for the entertainment industry itself. For years, the culture of excess, secrecy, and manipulation thrived behind closed doors, protected by money, fame, and the fear of speaking out. Now, that culture is being exposed for what it truly is. The victims who have come forward, including Cassie, represent just a fraction of the countless others who were silenced by the powerful figures in the industry. Diddy, as one of the most influential moguls of his time, stands at the forefront of this unraveling system. The trial marks a turning point, as the power structures that once protected predators like Diddy are beginning to crack. The world is watching, and the long-hidden truths are coming to light. The consequences for those who believed they were untouchable are now on full display.